Hello, and welcome back to Intelligent Pod, the podcast where curiosity meets clarity, and we dive deep into the science and stories shaping the way we think, learn, and live. I'm Sophie Lane, your host, and today we're tackling a question that's probably as close to your daily life as the phone in your hand. In fact, it is about that phone in your hand, and all the ways our devices are changing not just what we know, but how we know. Today's episode, Cognitive Offloading. How much thinking should we outsource to tech? Now, if cognitive offloading sounds like a term from a psychology textbook, don't worry. By the end of this episode, you'll not only know what it means, but you'll also have a better sense of when it helps, when it hurts, and how to use it to your advantage. We'll explore the science, the stories, and the strategies you can use to make peace with your tech without letting it take over your mind. So let's get started. First, let's break down what cognitive offloading actually is. In plain English, cognitive offloading is when we use external tools like smartphones, notebooks, or even sticky notes to help us remember, process, or solve problems that our brains would otherwise handle internally. Imagine using your phone as an address book instead of memorizing your friends' numbers, or relying on GPS instead of remembering a route. That's cognitive offloading in action. And let's be honest, we all do it. A recent survey found that more than 60% of adults under 40 say they can't recall more than 3 phone numbers by heart. Think about it. Can you remember your best friend's number without scrolling through your contacts? I know I can't. And that's not just convenience. It's a fundamental shift in how we use our brains. But is that shift good, bad, or somewhere in between? That's the heart of today's conversation. Let's start by looking at the psychological perspective. Psychologists have long studied memory and problem solving, and cognitive offloading sits right at the crossroads of both. On the one hand, offloading can free up mental resources. If you don't have to waste brain power remembering passwords, you can use that energy for creativity or critical thinking. On the other hand, there's a risk. If we offload too much, we might lose our edge when it comes to skills like recall, navigation, or even focus. A classic study out of University College London in 2017 showed something fascinating. Participants who relied on their phones to store information, like directions or to-do lists, were less likely to remember that information later, compared to those who kept it in their heads. It's not that their brains were weaker. It's that the habit of offloading made their brains less likely to encode the information at all. But wait, there's another side. Let's switch gears and look at the scientific perspective. Scientists argue that humans have always offloaded thinking in some way. Writing is a form of offloading. Calendars are offloading. Even language itself helps us structure thoughts in a way that's easier to remember. What's new is the speed, scale, and pervasiveness of our digital tools. There's a concept in cognitive science called the extended mind. The idea is that our mind isn't just what's inside our skull. It's a network that includes the tools, notes, and even other people we interact with. So when you set a reminder on your phone, you're not being lazy. You're extending your cognitive system. But here's the catch. While these tools can make us smarter in some ways, they can also make us dependent. That brings us to the cultural perspective. In some cultures, memory is revered. Oral traditions, for example, rely on memorization and passing stories down through generations. In others, especially in the digital West, we prioritize efficiency and external storage. There's no one-size-fits-all answer, but it's important to recognize that our relationship with memory and with tech is shaped by the culture around us. Let me share a real-life anecdote. A friend of mine, let's call her Maria, recently traveled to Japan. She decided to turn off her phone's Maps app for a day and try navigating the old-fashioned way, with a paper map and occasionally by asking for directions. At first, she felt lost, literally. But by the end of the day, she discovered little cafes, hidden gardens, and even made a new friend, all thanks to relying on her own sense of direction and the kindness of strangers. She told me she remembered that day's route better than any other part of her trip. It was a reminder, pun intended, that sometimes doing things the hard way can create richer, more memorable experiences. So, where does this leave us? How much thinking should we outsource to tech? Here's where I want to get practical, because this is a podcast for real life, not just abstract theory. First, be intentional about what you offload. Use tech for the things that truly free you up, like automating bill payments or setting reminders for infrequent tasks. But try to keep key skills active. For example, practice recalling important phone numbers or occasionally navigate without GPS to keep your sense of direction sharp. Second, set boundaries with your devices. Cognitive offloading is helpful, but it can also be distracting. If you find yourself checking your phone every 5 minutes for information you could remember, ask yourself, is this helping or just splitting my attention? Third, build memory workouts into your routine. Try memorizing a poem, recalling your grocery list without peeking, or challenging yourself with a brain game. These small habits can keep your internal memory strong, even in a world full of external supports. Finally, embrace the best of both worlds. The extended mind theory suggests we're at our best when we combine our brain power with the right tools at the right time. So don't feel guilty for using tech, but don't let it be a crutch for everything either. Let's recap. Cognitive offloading is the act of using external tools, like smartphones and reminders, to help us think, remember, and solve problems. It can make us more efficient and free up mental space, but over-reliance can weaken certain skills and make us dependent. The goal isn't to ditch tech, but to use it wisely, supporting, not replacing our natural abilities. So here's my closing thought. Technology isn't just shaping our world. It's shaping our minds. The smartest thing we can do is to use it with intention, curiosity, and a sense of balance. Thank you so much for joining me today on Intelligent Pod. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd love for you to leave a review. It helps others discover the show. For show notes, more resources, and a transcript of today's episode, head to intelligentpod.com. And if you have thoughts, questions, or stories about how you use tech to support or challenge your own thinking, I'd love to hear from you. Email me anytime at sophie@intelligentpod.com. Until next time, keep thinking, both inside and outside the box. I'm Sophie Lane, and this is Intelligent Pod.